All right, welcome back to Daybreak on Trust TV. Thank you very much for staying with us. It's time for us to set the ball in motion with regards to today's conversation. And if you guessed it, we are talking about the obvious conversation that Nigerians are having at this point in time. The only conversation that needs to be had in this country. The living cost is still on the rise. The economic reality is the fact that Nigerians are not better off going by what has been happening over the past couple of weeks. Now, recently, Nigerians just woke up yesterday to realize that there is a new pump price, and it is one that would definitely send shockwaves across the country, and it has been adjusted across fueling stations in the country. Well, these increases went from as low as 539 naira per litre. That was the low before yesterday. Now the price is as high as 620 or 630 naira per litre if you consider some of the fueling prices across the northern part of the country. Now, the recent surge in the price of pump price across the country has worsened Nigeria's cost of living as households struggle to keep up with the rising cost of goods and services in the country. Now, Nigerians have already before now been struggling with some of these hard-line economic developments in the country. Now, basic needs have surged, so to say, and desperately Nigerians are seeking for some sort of financial support as inflation erodes household incomes and people's purchasing power. Now, this situation has continued to worsen with prospects of more on the rise due to the recent hike in the pump price. Now, this morning on Daybreak on Trust TV, we are set to unpack some of the issues as we try to understand and make sense of why this is happening in this country today. Joining us in the studio, we have I beg your pardon, Abubakar Megandi. He is the Vice President, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. So he can tell us a little bit about why the sudden change and what the independent marketers are doing as far as this conversation is concerned. And also joining us in the studio this morning is Dr. Oladapo Otitoju, a public affairs commentator. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you. I don't know if it's a good morning or not, but I'm assuming that we're going to have a good morning as far as this conversation is concerned. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. Where do we start? Let's start with the IPMAN's position. How did we get here? What happened? If you can put it in a nutshell for Nigerians, why are they paying for more for an old product? Why is there a new price tag for an already existing product that has already been in the market for quite some time?
Well, in fact, what I will say to Nigerians, we should still exercise patience on the recent development. You know, since the time when Mr. President has removed the subsidy, I went to Nigeria to understand that now fuel has no subsidy. It depends on the prevailing market price. And we independent petroleum marketers, up to the present date, we didn't start importing this commodity. It's only NNPC is importing. And you can see the time when NNPC changed their price, we independent petroleum marketers, we doesn't have any alternative than to change our price because we depend through them.
Yeah, but we want to understand the mathematics behind that, because I believe if you're buying something for 10 naira and you're trying to make a 1% or 10% profit on it, it makes sense because you have to factor in cost of production and everything. Help us make sense of why the sudden change, why the NNPC took it from 530 something naira per litre, as the case may be in some places, to 617 naira per litre. What did they tell you is the reason for this increment? Well,
okay. To what the NNPC have said, because if you listen to the yesterday conversation by the GMD and NMDPPRA authority, so this thing what they have said, the commodity that they normally used to sell has changed the price because of the dollar rate at the same time with the crude oil rate. So these are the two factors which they consider, and that is the reason why they add the price.
All right. Dr. Titoju, yesterday was obviously a coup. But what some of us are trying to understand is, Mele Kyari, after his meeting at the villa, said, we have a stock of over 37 days supply. And you know the way international trade happens. It's not like you have to go to China or Holland and buy, and the same day it arrives there, and then you begin to say market veggie. It's a hedging market. In other words, whatever fuel we're consuming today, we probably imported 3 months ago. Right. Even if crude prices have changed, one would have thought that we would be eased into the new prices by saying, see, templates have changed in a couple of days or weeks. We may be seeing a review because of market reality. So it allows people to plan and ease themselves. But are we saying that in other climes, when prices change, this is how people wake up in the morning and prices just jump from point A to... Help us make sense of what happened yesterday.
Well, good morning, viewers. Again, I see a nation that some people are bent on destroying. So it's a sad day yesterday, like you said. It is the saddest day for me as a Nigerian, because how can you just wake up overnight and price differences of over 100% again on a crude, on a petroleum supply that had been in store for over 3 months. Now, I have a problem when Mele Kyari come to talk to people, talk to Nigerians, as if we are people who don't reason. The last time he gave this 530 price, he gave it as if that is the best price for removing subsidy. And up to today, we don't even know what they say they subsidize. Mele Kyari for the past 1 year has not given 1 kobo to federation accounts. That kind of a person should be probed. Is one of our problems in Nigeria. They are too aristocrats that they don't think of common men. And that is a problem. Their policies are agonizing, policies that are wicked, policies that are destroying the system and killing the masses.
You believe it has nothing to do with the economic realities?
No.
As
crude
the expression
is owned by
goes.
Nigerians. Yeah. What does it say about crude?
But we're still importing. And we're not talking about crude, we're talking about PMS.
We are importing. No, he said crude. That's why I had to go there. Crude, whether crude increases to our advantage, we export crude. And then the new policy is that we are going to be buying the fuel. Bring your finished product, we'll buy. That was the new policy that the president has recently adopted. Now, we have not even imported petrol in the last 3 months. The one in June, what's it called? The budget for removal of subsidy terminates in July. From June, they removed it. Pushed Nigeria into serious agony, pains of economic disaffection. And so, look at it today.
Doctor, one other thing I would like us to espouse is, sometimes when we sit down and do the overall maths, it does feel like it's either the government doesn't understand how much of pain people are taking in, or it doesn't care. Well, Mele Kyari is just the head of a corporation. To situate this properly within the government this is the same year where we have people's livelihood were practically eroded on account of the implementation of the Naira redesign policy. This economy came to practically a halt. People were buying money with their own money. And, you buy 10,000 with 4,000. Yes. 40% of your income you are using to buy cash. That wiped off people's substantial living money. Within the same first 6 months of this country, we are enduring a unification of exchange rate that I've seen the exchange rate balloon from somewhere around 446 or 45 to currently 745 yesterday. In the same 6 months, the removal of fuel subsidy. We have seen, as at last week, the bag of maize is touching 45,000 per bag. These are stable food for the poor. Guinea corn, we heard women were protesting in Taraba. How much more do you think people can take from this government before they hit the street? Because we, like somebody says, we are moving from inflation to annihilation. It's wiping off people completely from the surface.
See, let me tell you, there is an orchestration against this government. And let me tell you, either Bola Ahmed Tinubu hear this today. If you want to run a government, run your government with understanding. Not with understanding of some people who have frustrated his campaign. From the CBN change of money to the NNPC now, change of price of crude, change of price of PMS. It is better he removes Mele Kyari. I'm telling you, Mele Kyari is a problem in NNPC. This man ought to have resigned since how many months ago? In fact, last year. Mele Kyari is not supposed to be GMD.
You actually believe, Doctor, that one person is responsible for the economic mess that we're going through.
I am telling you that Mele Kyari is not capable to continue to sit there.
But we also had the corroboration of the Nigeria midstream and downstream regulatory agency that says, obviously they had a stakeholders meeting. I would love to get Mamal Abakar's take on it as an industry player, that obviously it is the economics of the trade that determines what we pay.
Please.
So if you look at the price index, for instance, on a global scale, we're paying less than $1 per liter.
I'm sorry, my brother.
Let me get to the point. Because we don't want to turn it into a political conversation where where it's a blame game. But if
we have to blame somebody,
we have to
hold them accountable.
Okay, yes. so let's have that accountability conversation there. Let's have that accountability conversation.
Okay.
The Tinubu administration took a big risk because it did come with some risk, removing subsidy on day one.
No, right? that was the budget inherited.
No, that wasn't the plan. The plan
was the budget inherited.
Let me get to the question, Doctor. The plan was to until June.
Yes.
Right?
Until July.
Until June, actually.
June ending July. This is July we are in.
No, it was supposed to elapse by June. And then we phase it out. We begin the phase out by July, which is this month. So the question is, they took that big risk, right? And the president has said that, listen, it was a last-minute decision. His advisors said we can phase this out in the first 100 days of your administration. It wasn't supposed to be on day one. Something informed him that he needed to make a big statement. He got applause for it, and obviously some knocks for it, but largely it was a good outing, and most people said, he took the bravest step of them all. But then again, they came in with the whole palliative arrangement. Last week, he got the approval from the House of Representatives for 500 billion naira, and he also got the approval of 800 million naira loan from the World Bank. That was his plan to cushion the effect and the impact of the removal of subsidy. Isn't that also a part of the conversation we're having right now? Because the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act itself deregulates the sector so much so that we're allowing industry players to come in, and this is what happens when market forces determine, because the government has pretty much lifted its hands off the industry.
That's what we're saying. Mele Kyari was the one who championed this deregulation thing in NNPC, which translated to where we are today. Yes, he's the GMD. He's the one who ensured that, the company is incorporated to a limited liability company.
I think that was the plan for a very long time before.
What I am saying is that for you, the law has been passed, yes. Kyari had to do some things and put some factors into consideration before he hits the ground running. Now, the Port Harcourt refinery, they have been working in Port Harcourt refinery for how many years? Up to today, it's not working. There is no refinery working in Nigeria. There are workers earning salary in those refineries. There is money going into that place every day. Now tell me, between yourself and God, let Mele Kyari come out and tell these people, Nigerians, what is the subsidy on 1 liter of fuel?
But there is no subsidy anymore.
No, even before that time.
All right.
Even before that time, I'm telling you, there is nothing like subsidy.
All right.
Now, money that has not been refunded to the Federation account for the past 1 year, nobody is saying anything about it.
All right.
Now, the Vice President just told us now that it is NNPC that imports fuel. So it is NNPC that sells to you. Abi? It is NNPC that sells to you. So they are the ones that regulate the system.
All right.
Now, as long as Kerry is there, we will not have a balanced economy.
All right.
I'm telling you,
Doctor,
we
I'd
need
like
to
you
change him and have another person.
I'd like you
inject a system.
I'd like you to hold your thought. We'll come back to that. I think the point that Ahmed tried to make is the fact that this country's problem is institutional rather than it is about a person. Because the president is a player in the petroleum sector. And he's an audit person by training. One would think that Emele Kyari cannot convince him to do something he is not prepared to do. But we will take that conversation.
We have delegated duties.
We will take that forward. Alhaji Megandi, we heard the NNDPRA saying licenses have been given for importations. We understand that some of this fuel will start baiting at Nigerian shores sometimes before the end of this month. With the dollar trending at around 745 and 820 at the black market, because I know you people are buying dollar at the black market, are we going to see a worse situation? Are we looking at 1,000 naira per liter, or we would see anything come down when you people begin?
Well, in fact, just like what the doctor have said, the blame should not be put in one person alone on this situation, because we have been following since the past government. We have been advising the government the way they can be able to remove the subsidy, if at all they want to remove the subsidy. We say, let's follow this issue in phases. Because everybody is just thinking marketers are having huge amount of money with subsidy issue. It's not like that. The petroleum product is a very sensitive product. And immediately, when you touch it, you remove the subsidy, you didn't bring something that will cushion the effect. Definitely, the masses will cry. And that is just really what is happening. The dollar rate, what we tell them before, we say, let's make Nigerian refineries to be in order. And even this Dangote refinery, we say, let that Dangote refinery start functioning before the removal of subsidy. And we even bring CNG solution. Because with the removal of subsidy in diesel, we come to realize that it will have a serious effect. So that is the reason why when they say they want to remove the fuel subsidy, we tell them the best solution, we should find another alternative that at least will reduce the hardship. That is energy solution. Because if we said we rely only on PMS to be consuming that PMS, definitely, since we are not producing PMS in the country, we have to import. And we have to use huge amount of dollar for importation. And in most of the cases, in all our things, we depend on importing, not exporting. So it means we have to go and source the currency that is not our currency, which is dollar, before we can be able to import the PMS.
Yeah, right. but to Sunday's point, the likely possibility, and I think NLC also highlighted this point, is that, listen, this free flow could see Nigerians pay as high as 1,000. I know your association denied the speculation that it could go as high as 700 last month, but obviously 620 is not 700, but it's getting there. Are you saying that as far as the unification of the currency is concerned, the fluctuation is going to continue? Nigerians are more likely going to pay a lot more in the near future if the Naira continues to do badly against the dollar?
Well, specifically now, I cannot say the fuel will go above 617 the way we have been selling now. But if care is not taken, definitely it will be more than that, because there is no any subsidy on it. And we depend on the foreign PMS that we normally import.
All right.
And this importation will be based on dollar, not in naira.
Okay.
So
All
by
right.
the time when the dollar change, automatically it will affect the price.
All right. We now have also joining us an economist, Dr. Aliu Audu. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
All right. I'm sure you have listened to Alhaji Megandi and Dr. Titoju espouse their perspective on this issue. But my question is, from the point of view or standpoint of economics, government exists, for the betterment of its citizenry and society. And if the government completely hands off things like that are capable of upstaging, that critical balance in the well-being of a society under the guise of market forces, allowing to play. With what you see, how much more do you think an average Nigerian can take before this combination of these multiple policies at the center completely alienate whatever is left of their capacity to absorb this pain?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, it is the government's responsibility to ensure that prices are regulated and the citizenry is not taken advantage of. That's why you have price regulation boards, etc. Now, what we have seen here is that the price of PMS has actually gone up, higher than what was promised or what was expected. I think let's take ourselves back a little and look at where are we coming from. We're trying to stop paying subsidies to some oil marketers who have been defrauding the nation. And this is where we find ourselves. So it is the responsibility of government to provide safety net. When I say safety net, welfare and palliatives to cushion this effect. Because what we are saying, we don't want to go back to where we are coming from. Subsidy is evil. Let's put it that way. So what is the way forward? The way forward is, as the government has said, to provide palliatives to cushion this effect on Nigerians, to provide price control boards in terms of, because people try to take advantage of this by increasing foodstuffs and what have you. So this is where the government stops in. Provide, free transport system like it's done in other countries. And such welfare and even the conditional cash handouts, which is people have been talking about, is also part of the palliatives that could be looked into. Supporting business. Like during the COVID period, businesses in the UK and US were giving non-interest loans. This is the time we should introduce such things to cushion the effect on the ordinary Nigerians. Since we know that subsidy is evil in itself, the money that was spent in subsidy, according to what I read, is about $10 billion. This money, even half of it, can be used and spent on Nigerians. And this will go a long way to cushioning the effect so that Nigerians don't feel the effect of the removal of subsidy. Unfortunately, doctor, when you take out subsidy, there will be some people that will be trying to take advantage of the system. Doctor. And that's where I see this price moving from 517 that it was to 620 as it is now.
Yeah. So, all right, Doctor, I would like you to speak to something quickly.
To step in and provide palliatives to cushion the effects on the ordinary Nigerians.
All right, Doctor, I would like you to speak quickly to something before we come back to this studio. From the way the government have acted, does this suggest that they already had a plan on how to transition from what the situation was in a manner, that would not that would not completely alienate households. And I said it because you've mentioned several palliatives, but we had to take a decision before we are even approaching the National Assembly to say approve ABC and XYZ form. Does it appear to you that we have an idea of how we want to proceed from here? Because it does appear like the government is lost. The conversation around increment in salary is hanging. The conversation about palliative is about sharing money to a set of people who don't understand where they exist and how they exist. And remember, we already have an inflation of over 22%. So does it make sense? Some of your people, some economics with other school of thoughts, argue that pumping more money in the hands of people at a time when inflation is above 22% would rather make no sense, that we need non-cash interventions. You talked about buses and the rest. What does it appear like the government, where does it appear like the government is taking us in all of this conversation?
Okay, first of all, I believe that the government is a new government, and obviously the removal of subsidy, the plan they have is not very well fine-tuned, and they have to keep fine-tuning it until they get it right. Let's give the government a break, because we can't expect them to perform magic. They are just less than 2 months old or about 2 months old. So we need to be patient with them. We need to let them adopt these policies gradually. They'll bring in some, like the 8,000 conditional cash transfer that they were, the president said they were going to bring. And obviously he's now trying to fine tune that. So let's give them time, because, it is a new government, and they are going to fine tune policies in order to suit Nigerians. And obviously, the focus should be on Nigerians, not on, as you said, a few set of lawmakers. Nigerians are the ones that need palliatives. Nigerians are the ones that need support, especially businesses. I told you that this is the time to start supporting businesses. They should have business loans for SMEs. 90% of Nigerian economy is run by SMEs, the small business trader, the Meruas, and what have you. I believe this government means well and needs to adopt the right people in the right places to put in these policies. Because in the previous administration, I don't think we had this much interest in alleviating the worries of the people. Now that this government has shown it, let's give them time in order to adopt this policy, to fine-tune these policies, and give more palliatives in the needed areas to Nigerians, especially to SMEs. SMEs needs to be supported.
If I can just interject, pardon the interruption. I believe
this is an
that at some point we have to agree that
to move the economy forward.
One group that has been patient for so long is the Nigerian masses. They've been patient since the beginning of the current democratic dispensation in '99, and also the promises have been made to Nigerians. In all honesty, they've been patient with the Obasanjo administration, they've been patient with the Yar'Adua administration, they've been patient with the Goodluck administration, the Buhari administration, and now the Tinubu administration. So I don't think the problem is Nigerians per se. We have to agree that Nigerians have done their best to be patient with all of these policies that have seemed to worsen the situation over the past 20-something years now, because we're just having a conversation earlier and we said, less than 10 years ago, Dr. Otitoju, we were paying 87 naira per litre. And look where we are right now, 620 or 630 naira per litre. Let's try to have an understanding about where this conversation could go. You're asking Nigerians to be patient. If we're to go with Dr. Aliu's analysis, if Nigerians are patient, how long before the situation stabilizes in your view? Because the president is trying to, or the president administration is trying to attack the economic policy from different points of view. He set up a tax reform committee supposed to look at all of these things. He talked about businesses getting some sort of relief or intervention, suspended some excise tax to, allow businesses to breathe a little bit so they don't have to, spend some of their money giving government certain portions of it. What are your thoughts about how long it will take the Tinubu administration to stabilize it? Because Nigerians are running out of patience. Let's be clear. Nigerians are running very low on patience. How long do you think it will take before the Tinubu administration stabilizes the situation?
Well, for now, my own position right from time, and I believe, and my prayers, is that, well, Nigeria have been patient, and we are still patient. In fact, this is a nation where you will see the masses are very patient. There's nowhere in the world that you dare in Nigeria, you move fuel subsidy, you remove it, and then you increase fuel in less than 2 months, twice. You have not touched wages, old wages. Tell me, how much more can Nigerian go in patience? We are pacifying ourselves now. We are pacifying ourselves. We are not looking at what the nation can really give to us, because you will see that about 60% of Nigerians are doing their personal businesses. How many people are going to benefit from this minimum wage? They are less than 40% in Nigeria. And then the people who really feel the pain is the poor of the poorest. And these are market women, people who till the ground and heal the wood. And these are people who are praying every day that God should help us to bless. Now, in a nation like Nigeria, where we have leaders who are just flying around, they are not interested in the development of anybody. And that's why I'm saying that this is a new dispensation. Remove Mele Kyari. Remove all the people in the economic sector of the past and bring in new people to turn and walk in line with this new government. There will be people who will fight back to distract this government. And this is number one. Let me tell you, fuel is very sensitive. Issue of PMS is the most sensitive thing. You need it to drive to come to your office. You need to drive your generator. You need to sustain your businesses with fuel, because there's no electricity 24 hours available for you. And that is why people like Mele Kyari should leave that place and give another person a chance. Let them have a new system to drive Nigeria. Let me tell you, Mele Kyari worked in the past government. Mele Kyari failed the past government. The past government complained that he did not give them 1 naira to federation account. He said he used it to import fuel. Now, when you import fuel with the money for NNPC, is that your statutory duty?
Okay, I think there's a lot more in that particular conversation, because the House of Representatives just launched an investigation into that over 2 trillion naira non-remittance to the federation account, where there's a back and forth. So it is not.
The National Assembly. Yes. Yeah. Let us have an independent probe of Millie. I think that civil society, journalists, lawyers, let them come together. And
I think they're investigating the NNPC, not Mele Kyari.
Yes, it's the GMD. It's the GMD.
Alaji, in your opening conversation, you talked about alternative, because at the end of the day, it is becoming clear that we cannot, regardless of what happens to Mele Kyari or not, that we cannot continue to hinge our entire energy consumption on PMS alone. Yes. I think it's about time. In fact, the conversation right now in Nigeria is that Nigeria is a gas country with associated fuel. Yes. It used to be Nigeria is an oil country with associated gas. Today, we have over 2.3 billion cubic feet of gas. Yes. What, from your own perspective and your own members, what are you doing to ramp? You talked about CNG, which is interesting, because we have been inundated with pictures of how people are now converting their generators to gas and vehicles to gas. But there are very little places where that conversion is happening right now, and people are not even seeing the metrics. What exactly do you save if you move from petrol to gas? And I'm wondering, for marketers like you, how many of your people are investing in these alternative technologies that should enable people, balance the mix of their energy consumption? What's happening in that space?
Okay, that is very good. I'm very happy for asking me this question, because all what we have been saying, the subsidy has already been removed. That alternative which you talk about is the most important thing now. Yes. And is the thing that we are going to face the reality. One of the urgent thing that I think we can be able to do is that CNG. because already we have started queuing into the program. The time that when we have seen kerosene is so expensive, there is no kerosene. There is no subsidy in kerosene. We started gas, that is LPG. Whereby, if you look at the price of the LPG now, it's cheaper than kerosene. And it's a clean energy. So likewise, if the support is being given by the government to the marketers.
When you say support, what exactly do you mean?
What I mean support, an enabling environment that will allow our foreign partners, we work together with them. That is just like palliatives.
But you know what?
A loan. What I mean, a loan. A loan.
But if somebody is seeing a huge market of 200 million Nigerians, why do we need to give him money to come and make money off us as a country?
In every process, before you can be able to achieve, you have to get a government intervention. Just like now, if you observe, we have spent huge amount of money in constructing different kind of filling station all over the country. By the adoption of this policy of removal of subsidy, some of our filling stations now today, they are not functioning.
So the point I'm actually trying to make is, and what Nigerians want to hear from you is, Nigeria is a free market economy. That place where you source funding to build those massive filling stations we are seeing, what stops you from getting fundings to inject in CNG, since there is a ready market and people will find it cheaper, alternative energy? Because it does appear that once you invest there, the market is already waiting to absorb it. We are looking at a government that is already challenged about what to do with minimum wage, challenged about infrastructure building. The government is trying to make itself slim and bother about revenue collection rather than... We saw intervention in energy. We sold our power sectors only to start giving people money to run the power sectors on our behalf. Why do you, if the space is open, why not you go discuss with your partners to come and take advantage of this huge market? That's the point I would like to understand.
Yes, that is what I had been telling you. We have already started discussion.
Okay.
And you know already, we have already spent huge amount of money in construction different kind of filling station. We're thinking that we may be using PMS and AGO as a source of business. And presently, up till now, with this change of policies, we two independent petroleum marketers were having a huge amount of money under the custody of the NNPC, which they are yet to give us our money back or to give us the product. Are you asking for the money back
or you're asking for the product?
We are asking for the product.
Right.
And if we cannot be able to get the product, let's get our money back.
But the NNPC is arguing, before we go to our guest online, that you people have refused to come for the money. And the question I asked the last time was, they are saying because prices have changed, you either make up the differentials and pick the product, but your people are arguing that because we have paid for the product, give us the product instead. And my question is, if you are supplied that product at that old rate, are you saying when they get to the filling station, you will sell them at 187 naira? What is going to happen?
No, look, you know they use our capital to purchase this product.
Okay.
So there is no way they will sell this product at a new rate to us. Because we too, we put our capital, and this capital that we invested, remember that is a bank money. It has interest and everything. So that is the reason why that time when they say we should go and take our money back, we tell them no.
No.
Okay.
While the interest continues to build.
It appears that there is a lot of undercurrent between the relationship between.
But still, the issue that the immediate issue, because you know we too, we are Nigerians.
Absolutely.
And anything that will help the government, we're on it, and we are law-abiding citizens. So that is the reason why we advised the government on this. We said, okay, since we are marketers, we need your support. Here are our foreign investors that we are going to partner with. But you know, we cannot partner without anything. We need government support of a loan a subsidized loan that we can be able to take to see that we converted most of the Nigerian cars to be using CNG.
It is a conversation.
And then in our filling station too, we install a CNG pumping machines and containers for CNG.
It is something that I think even the NLC is negotiating as part of the whole conversation to address this whole subsidy removal situation. But if we can just bring in back Dr. Aliu via Zoom, the economist, as far as this conversation is concerned. Doctor, Nigeria is paying one of the cheapest prices as far as the data is concerned globally. I think we're number 20 on that list. Only 4 African countries have cheaper PMS than Nigeria. The rest of the world is paying a lot more than Nigeria is paying as far as the cost of PMS is concerned per liter. But that is, of course, in dollars. So for a lot of people, the conversation is how bad our currency or our economy is doing vis-a-vis its relationship with the dollar. What are your thoughts about that? And I also love to get your take on what you make of the Dangote refinery coming on board as far as supply issues is concerned with regards to the cost implication, as well as the revelation that 3 independent marketers are already expecting their shipment to berth in the country. How much longer do you think this whole situation is going to last? And where will Nigerians finally breathe, as the president said some time ago?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, in reference to the Dangote refinery, let me start with that. The essence of the Dangote refinery is to make us producers. When we are producers, we already have crude oil. So it only makes logical sense for us to start refining crude oil to make it cheaper. The long run objective is once you have a product that you produce locally, it's going to be cheaper than going to get it from abroad. That is the long run objective of having Dangote refinery. It stabilizes the market. Secondly, you talked about the economy, our reliance on the dollar. Once Dangote refinery begins to produce very well and is satisfying local demand, according to what I heard, is to be able to supply local demand, then we should not have any reason to demand for the dollar to go and buy PMS from abroad. That will reduce the demand for the dollar and strengthen the naira and stabilize the economy. So in terms of the Dangote refinery, that is the long run objective. To first of all, provide locally, supply Nigerian demand and satisfy the local markets at a reasonable, at a reduced cost before we even talk about exportation, which will be the long run objective of it. And this, in all, will stabilize the naira. Again, and the economy. Again, going into the first question you asked about the state of the economy and what we should be doing going forward. Our long run objective is we're a consuming country. We consume everything. We import food. We have a food import bill of $5 billion. We import sugar. A lot of essential commodities are imported. This is not good. This is not good because this is the reason why the naira is falling. When there's constant demand for dollar and foreign currencies to go and buy things abroad, you notice that the currency will be weak. And that's what's happening to us. So we need to bring in the policy of import substitution industrialization. Whatever we need to eat, we need to consume in this country, we should produce. Food, most especially, we have no business importing food, milk, sugar from foreign countries. Burkina Faso produces 42% of the sugar they consume. Senegal produces 40-something% as well. We produce only 2% of the sugar we consume. We import the rest from outside. According to the African Development Bank, we have enough agrarian land to produce sugar, not only to produce and also to export. So why are we not producing? This is where we have to concentrate our priorities. We need the right people managing the right in the right places of the economy to support farmers to go into mechanized agriculture and production of what we consume. That needs to be the focus of this government.
Right,
in that
Doctor.
way, in the long run, we will stop our over-dependency on foreign consumption.
All right,
India generates 6 million jobs, indirect jobs, from production of sugar, 6 million, and then direct 1 million jobs. So that is 7 million jobs India is creating from the production of sugar. So in effect, as we are importing foods, we are also losing jobs. The unemployment rate in Nigeria stands at over 30%. So we need to focus internally producing, and when we produce, it creates employment. This in the long run stabilizes the economy.
All right, Doctor.
So we have to look inwards.
Yes, we are winding down now, and I would like to take your closing thoughts before we come back to the studio. You've talked about a number of things we need to do. First of all, to address the supply side of the dollar, which we are not doing right now. We are not earning as much dollars as we should earn. In fact, we missed out on the opportunity of the windfall as a result of the crisis between Russia and Ukraine. You talked about the need to cut importation, and that's where I'm interested in. This government is calling for sacrifice. Everybody at the helm of authority is asking Nigerians for patience. But from the things you have observed in the last few days, does it appear like the people who are leading us are willing to show example by making these sacrifices? We have continued to see them live their lavish life, trying to justify some 70 billion naira for what we have provided for less than 4 years ago. I wonder whether the televisions go blank after 3 years, or the furnitures, you need televisions and all that. In trying to conserve currency and change Nigeria taste for foreign good, or basically buy Nigeria, what kind of actions do you want to see from our leaders?
Thank you very much. First of all, I know the president is quite determined to move the country forward. The National Assembly members, I'm not so sure. Now, we had the policy before that in the 80s, all government cars, official cars, were Peugeot, locally produced cars. That's the policy we had in the 80s. And as such, we had Peugeots. It created jobs for our uncles, then. Now, we are having the National Assembly members approve a huge amount to themselves going to buy foreign cars. Why don't we make Innocent Motors the official car for all civil servants in Nigeria? For any government official should make the government should draft a policy that Innocent Motors should become the Nigerian official car. Because as the National Assembly is getting money to go and buy cars, if they invest this money in Innocent Motors, it will expand them. It will expand. They will expand, and they will create more jobs and produce for the Nigerian market. And that, in effect, will help Nigeria. Okay. Rather than approving money to go and buy cars from Japan, from Germany, and taking our jobs and our resources to foreign countries that don't really need it anyway.
Okay, I'm not sure if they don't need it, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. But of course, there is this global conversation and global pressure about some of these economic policies where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is now the chair of ECOWAS, is talking about collaboration, integration within the region, and in fact, perhaps even opening up other potential areas of business interests through bilateral engagements. I'm not sure if protectionist policies like this would necessarily put him in the good books of some of these countries, but it's a balancing act. But as far as your closing remark is concerned, Dr. Otichoju, I would love to get your take on, because you haven't quite given me the direct answer to your projections. How long do you think this whole impasse, as far as, not necessarily impasse, but how long do you think this current economic reality will last? Vis-a-vis what the Tinubu administration is doing to ameliorate the pains that Nigerians are going through at the moment.
Yes, sir. But before I answer that question, sir, I have a very heavy burden to say part of the alternatives we need in Nigeria to quickly ameliorate this problem is to get modular refineries. Billions of naira, we are billionaires in Nigeria. The kind of money that we spend on subsidy, 10 billion, whatever, is it dollars?
No, I think 400 billion a month.
A month. If you put it together, go to Singapore, go to China, go about 10, 15 countries, Germany, let them have modular refinery, be brought into Nigeria for us to have a quick turnaround. Let me tell you, if we have 10 modular refineries, this issue will subside.
It depends on scale. It depends on scale.
For local,
it depends on scale.
I understand you. What I am saying is that you, as a nation, you know the scale you need to get to cushion the effect for the people. So meet them, get your modalities, get what you want, bring it to Nigeria, solve this problem. Importation will always create problems. Let me tell you, this Port Harcourt refinery, some people will be there forever. They will not want that place to work. Get a modular refinery, attach it to all these oil wells. Let's have our oil. Let's have our own local production. Instead of importing. And this is what the government can do. This palliative we need 500 billion. We can use to purchase these things.
Doctor, you're saying after the Petroleum Industry Act, where government hands off the industry, you want government to put its hands back in through the modular refineries again?
You can't just take off your hand immediately. You have to run a system.
Yeah, but that's what the Petroleum Industry Act says.
Affecting your people.
Yeah, but that's what the Act says. You can only regulate.
Why is the NNPC importing?
Yeah, NNPC is no longer a government-owned
but for now,
company.
it's still answerable to the National Assembly.
All right. Dr. Megendi, Alhaji Megendi, you have talked about solutions, and most times it does appear that our gaze is only concentrated on the federal government. Have you had states approach you, with their own states thought out solutions on what they can do to change the narrative at their own local level rather than wait for a solution from Abuja?
Well, actually, that is our last meeting.
Okay.
We said our members should try and approach their state governors and sell the idea to them, because all this thing is a profitable businesses, which we are just looking an enabling environment by the support either by the state government or by the federal government, and this thing can move. So provided that, because we are talking about the refineries, I even learned that Ibn Dangote, he said he will start production by July. But
August.
Is that production possible? We didn't know. Because he too, I learned that he go and seek for importation. So in the whole world today, we have to create another alternative source of energy.
All right. Unfortunately, I wish we had more time to continue to expand on this conversation. But clearly, petroleum is an emotional product, and we will continue to visit this issue. I want to thank you, Alhaji Megendi, Vice Chairman of IPMAN, for finding time to be here. I know we barely released you yesterday night, and this morning you are back here again. I'm beginning to imagine how much fuel you would have golfed at 620.
I don't think he has a problem.
Let me take it that you don't have a problem with fuel. All right, Dr. Otitoju, we have to force you out of your house this morning. As always, we want to thank you for the perspective you bring to our conversation.
Thank you.
We will take up the issue of Mele Kyari going. I'm sure we'll find time for that conversation in another edition.
No problem.
And Dr. Aliu, thank you very much for also finding time to be part of this conversation. Thank you for your perspective.
Thank you.
All right, viewers, this is the much that we can bring from our first segment of this show. There's so much more to be brought to you as we continue. Please don't go away. We'll take a short break and return at the top of the hour.